Hey, it's me. I'm here when I'm not supposed to be. Got my newfangled glasses, too. They help me see a little bit. My eyesight's not that bad, but I don't know what you think about them. How you doing, Ruby? So today, all I'm going to do is go over the Steel Police. That's all I'm doing today. Ignacy wanted to get a good breakdown on Steel Police. I guess they're going to use it in some way. Hopefully it'll all be edited and make me look really good. So Merrick, please help me out with that. Hey, Kamarowski. So, anyway, we're going to just take a look at these armies real quick, go through it. I should probably start out by saying the Steel Police are probably one of my favorite armies. And I was really excited that was going to be one of the first ones that they're going to put forward today, or on the app, one of the first new factions that they're going to put on the app. The Steel Police, with their what I call the net of justice, it's the steel net. I find that to be extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. Now, when you use that steel net, it does cost life points, but it locks down a guy. And you can lock one guy down every battle. So that is extremely important to me. I find that makes a huge difference. You use it right and you'll go far, you know. So, and I guess I could say that my obsession with nets is kind of a thing. So when I was young, I had a really cool bedroom, and I put all these cool concert posters on the wall and whatnot, and I had all that going on. And then I had my whole ceiling was done in fishing nets, and I put stuff up in there, hanging it up in there and whatnot. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So there's a fascination in my mind with the whole net thing anyway. So I really do think it's cool. And when I've gone to like places like Maine, go to the coast and things like that, seeing all those nets that they use for fishing and whatnot, I don't know, something about it. There's something about nets. It's weird, but it's in my head. So I think that's the number one reason that I really like the Steel Police. But the second one is I think they're powerful. Let's take a look at the factions. Yeah, Adam, maybe it is. Maybe I've got a little net fetish thing going on, you know? I don't know. I think it's healthy. I don't feel weird about it. It's all right. Anyway, so in the app, if you just go to where it says rules, you can check out all the different rules here, but they've also got the armies. So you can go into the armies and you can select whatever army you want. It'll give you a little rundown on that. So on the Steel Police, they say, which by the way you can get for just $1.99 US. It also, if you've had the Steel Police in the past, you'd be able to get that one for free. That's the idea. But the Steel Police are a wandering brigade of law and order fanatics. So they're all about law and justice. And they're just going around the countryside making sure that law and justice prevail. You don't want a bunch of crazy crime going on. I guess they just took it on themselves. But that's them. So if we click over here on units, it'll take us in and show us all the tiles. So it's important that you note when you're playing a faction, it's important that you note how many of each tile you have. You could keep track of it. You can look in the discard pile, but it's important that you kind of think about how you're using the faction, so that the only way that you can make Hiroshima Hex a strategic game is by understanding what tiles may come up or what tiles have already been used. And if you have some understanding of that information, then it becomes less of a tactical game, meaning if you just draw a few tiles and use whatever tiles are available to you without thinking about what may be coming next, then you're just playing a tactical game. And it's going to be more based on luck and draw. Whereas if you kind of have an idea of what all is available to you when you start out the game, what may be available to the other guy, and then through the game, what's already been used or what hasn't been used yet, right? So if we're playing with a Moloch, we need to know, has he used the bomb? Have we seen the bomb yet? That could be coming. So you might want to keep your troops spread out until after the bomb goes away, that kind of thing. When you're playing the hegemony, right? Playing against the hegemony, you know that they are mostly melee. So it would make more sense to maybe put your base in the corner and defend those three fronts to keep them from being able to get in there and actually attack your base. So kind of thinking about those things is important on that. And that's one of the reasons that we want to kind of go over what's available to us with the Steel Police. So in the Steel Police, we have the battle tile, which is an action tile. And we have 5 of those. So we can start a battle 5 times. Of course, a battle also will start if you completely fill the board. Or it's the end of the game. The other thing that we have is our base itself, which just like every other base, it has, well, almost every other base, it has an attack of 1 in every direction. It goes off on initiative 0. Its special ability or special feature is that it has the steel net. Now, the steel net can actually net any opponent tile on the board. Doesn't matter where they are, you can net it. And there's the cool thing about that, as opposed to like a regular net, is that normally you have a hex that you can put down that will net the thing that's adjacent to it. But what can happen is you can net a netter, or you can kill a netter, and then the person who was netted becomes free again, right? So in this case, when we actually net somebody, there's nothing they can do about it. There's nobody to kill or anything like that. And the cool thing about this is it can go anywhere on the board, even if they are closed in so that you can't get a tile to them, you just net them, right? So one of the things that I like to do with this, talking about the strategy of using the net, is that once we kind of get the guy, our opponent has got their guys in place. If we've got a guy who's going to do a fair amount of damage to our base or to one of our units that is going to do a lot of damage to his base, then we might want to net that unit. The caveat here is that I also want to kill them during that battle. Okay, because if we don't kill him, the net persists until the next battle, and so on and so forth. So one of the things that I learned early is that you don't want to net their base, because if you net their base, right, then they're unable, and then your net ability goes away for the rest of the game. You're only netting their base until you kill their base. Right? So it's great in that their base will never attack, and that the special ability of their base will never work. and it costs. But now your special ability won't work either. So that's kind of the problem there, right? That's what you kind of what I found that I wanted to avoid. Now, near the end of the game, doing that may make a lot of sense, but you got to remember you're turning off your ability when you net their HQ, right? So that's sort of how that works. Also, I should say that when you use this net ability, you do 1 damage to your own HQ. It does 1 damage, so you go from 20 to 19. But, if you're netting somebody that is going to do 2 damage, 3 damage to your HQ, getting 1 damage instead is much better. Or netting somebody that's going to keep you for doing 2 or 3 damage to the other guy. You always want to be doing more damage to them than they are to you, right? It's okay if you both get damage, but you want to make sure that it's weighted to them getting more damage than your HQ. So that's how I would use that net. The next thing we have is the Saboteur. Well, the Saboteur, it just affects any of the enemy units connected to this, and it goes all the way around it. So you put it in there, and any unit that's connected to this gets a -1 on their initiative. For the Steel Police, a lot of times I like to put the Steel Police HQ in the corner because he doesn't give bonuses to anybody, and he can shoot the net from anywhere. So using the Saboteur next to my HQ, specifically in front of it, so that the only other places they can put their pieces is to either side of your HQ. Those things that they might put would end up with a -1 initiative. So that's helpful. So it's a good blocker. But oftentimes it's a tile that I end up throwing away. In a 3 spread, normally it may be a tile that I throw away. There are those special circumstances, and this is sort of the tactical use of it, would be if the enemy had say a 2 initiative and you were going to try to kill him, but you only had a 2 initiative. Well, if you had a 3, you could kill him before he got to attack, which would be awesome. Or in this case, you could give him a 1, and then you could still be a 2. So tactically, this could be beneficial. And then, of course, and there's 2 of those, by the way. So it's likely you're gonna trash one of them. Then you've got 2 medics, which is a decent amount of medics. Normally, for the Steel Police, I find myself not using the medics very often for protecting my HQ. You can put it, say, like on one of those sides that I was talking about. If you put the HQ in the corner, you can put it on one of those sides, but and it would help to block. And maybe if damage did get through to your HQ, you could absorb it with the medic. But oftentimes what I find is they've got some powerful modules that we're going to get to. And a lot of times I ended up protecting the modules more than protecting any particular unit. Again, it might be a throwaway unit, right? So the next one, and you have 3 of these, which is nice. You have a +1 on your ranged combat. Now, because Steel Police have so many modules attached to them, it's good to have those modules. Sometimes you'll get a draw and it'll be mostly modules. That can happen. And so you don't have anybody to put. But imagine that you're going to put somebody somewhere, and it's somewhere that your opponent wouldn't want to put somebody, right? So it benefits you, but not him. It needs to be aimed at his HQ, but someplace that he wouldn't put a guy that would be aimed at yours, right? If you find that spot and then attach this module to that spot, so later when you get a unit, he will do +1 damage. That is how that's done. And you've got 3 of those, and you also have 3 of these, which are super awesome. Imagine if you had a +1 attack on ranged, and you had this module, which is the Sergeant, and you connect the connected unit here goes off on a 0 and a 1, right? So I stated that wrong. What happens on this is that if you have a guy who goes off on a 2 and this is attached to it, he'll go off on a 2 and a 1. If he's at a 1, he'll go off on a 1 and a 0. The only other thing that I would say about this Sergeant, it doesn't help your HQ in that, or anything that would go off on a 0. So if you put this one on one that's going off on 0, it'll only go off on 0. There is no -1 initiative. You can double layer these. In other words, you could have 2 sergeants connected to one particular tile, one particular unit, attacking unit. But what happens with that is it doesn't give you like 2 more, right? What it does is, like, let's say he goes off on a 3. Well, he'd go off on a 3, and then because you have 1 sergeant attack, it would go off on a 2, and then because you have another sergeant attack, it would go off on a 1, right? So you could get a guy to go off 3 different times. Some of the units that we have in this actually go off twice. If you had the problem is you couldn't attach 2 sergeants to it because you'll end up with initiative 0 and it won't help you. So you'd have to put a +1 on that. And this is that idea of thinking ahead and knowing what you have and what would work with what, right? So let's keep on moving on this. So you get 3 of those. It's quite a bit. So already, if you look at the modules, we got 2 of the Saboteurs, we got 2 medics, we got 3 of these +2 ranged attacks, and we got 3 of the double strikes, basically. Now this guy here, we only have 1 of them. It can be helpful. We do have modules or units that do have a melee attack. This gives them a +2 melee. So suddenly a guy who only does 1 damage is able to do 3 damage. So that's pretty cool. Again, these modules are secondary in doing damage, but if all you get is a module, and say you get this one and a medic, I might put the medic next to my base to help protect my base. May, give me a defender that they have to, my opponent has to go through. Also allow me to absorb damage with my base. So I put the medic there, and then if I get this, I would find a spot that would be open that my opponent wouldn't use to attack me, and I would attach this to that. So it would be next to his HQ, right? This would be 1 away from next to his HQ. So, right, it'd be 2 away from his HQ, and hopefully would empower a space that is next to the HQ that he is unlikely to use, if that makes sense. So that's how that works. You only get 1 of them. And then we have this lovely thing here. It's nice. If I have the ability to use it, I will definitely use it, because it allows you, if this module is out and you just put it in the corner someplace that you don't think anybody's ever going to go to, you don't need it, they don't need it, why would they attack this, right, kind of thing. It seems like a waste for him. So what it does is it actually makes it free to launch your net. So no longer would you do 1 damage to yourself when you launch your net, which allows you to net and attack even smaller units, right? So I wouldn't ever net a guy who's only going to do 1 damage to me, because I would get 1 damage for doing that, right? I wouldn't net someone who's going to kill somebody who's going to do 1 damage to his base. But if I had this out, I could, right? So that's that. Then we have the initiative. And this initiative will become, you'll understand more about how that initiative comes when I show you some of the actual units, the combat units. But this gives you +1 on initiative. And again, it's one of those deals where you get this, you think, okay, where do I need to use it? Maybe it's that 2 away from his HQ, so that I can empower a melee attack and also empower a ranged attack, right? So maybe I can work out all that to where I can bonus attack him, so I can get something off before he gets me, right? That's that. And then we have pushes, and pushes are always nice when you have a guy in a corner. So when you put your HQ in the corner, one of the problems that you're going to have with that is that you may get trapped in there. So if he puts his guys on there, you don't really want to face back and attack his guys. What you want to do is attack his HQ. So a push enables you to place that on your, put the push on the HQ and then push people away from your HQ. So that's really important when we're talking about melee guys. So if he's got a melee guy who's going to be doing 3 damage or something to you, that's when that push comes in. We've only got 1 of them, and it's nice to know, right? Then we also have 1 move. Hey, Murgatsu. Yep. Steel Police are coming back. Yep. And hopefully once we get... They're working on... I'll say this. They are working on a few other things as well, Murgatsu. Besides getting these new factions, they've been working on some of the interactions and whatnot. So and also the AI. A lot more work on the AI is being done. There are certain things, rules-wise or interface-wise, that they also have been working on. When the game first starts up, they've got a thing now where it, like a coin is being flipped, and you can see your faction and the other one's faction, and it spins around until you see that. So it should be pretty cool. Yeah, and we're gonna get all the plan is we could not get all the factions with the old app. We were unable to program that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to be able to roll out each of the factions, every single one of them, including the latest one, Beasts. So we're going to be able to put all the factions on there, and everyone will have access to every single faction. I think it's going to be incredible. We're all going to be able to play each other. We can even use it to do tournament play and stuff like this. So I think it's going to be fantastic once we get more of these factions on board. And I know some of you have paid for some of the factions previously. And it's important that you know that if you've paid for the factions previously, once they get loaded into this, you will have access to those factions again. You will not have to pay for them. That is the plan right now. But there will be new factions, and you will have to pay for those. So Ignacy's not doing this for free. He does have a plan. Obviously, he's in business, so there's that. All right. Well, moving on, we've got some action tiles, not just the modules. We've been talking a lot about the modules. So we have that push action tile. We also have this move action tile. And the move, obviously, we only have one of those. And it allows you to either turn a unit or move a unit 1 space and or turn it. So you can change the facing, which direction someone's going to shoot or something like that. So it's nice, but you only have one. And it's really important that you remember you only have one. So if you're actually, that idea of where's my HQ, if I move it, I will not be able to move it again. If I move one of my guys and like rotate it in a certain direction to do some damage, I'm not going to be able to rotate it back because there is only one move. It's important to know that. You put your guys down, they're fairly stable in the Steel Police, right? So this one is fantastic. I love this one. If it comes out at the right time, it can do some awesome stuff. So this is Terror. And using this tile prevents the enemy from placing any units on the board. You just use it as an action, and you can put your things on the board, but he doesn't get a turn to do that. Now, he can do movements, he can do pushes, all those things, but he can't put more units on the board. So that includes modules. So no tiles can be laid on the board. Now, here's the actual units. This is Band Dog. I think it's Bad Dog. So Bad Dog has a initiative of 3, so he's doing really good. This isn't one of those, hey Raiders. So Bad Dog isn't one of those groups or one of those attackers that you would necessarily want to increase his initiative, but it's definitely one that you could increase the amount of damage he does, or you could do the double sergeant on him, so you could go off on 3, 2, and 1, right? It's the Nerd Shells. Hey guys. We're just going over the Steel Police. This is just a breakdown of the armies for Hiroshima Hex. So thanks for stopping in. So yeah, Bad Dog has that 3. So we can do 3, 2, and 1 if we were able to attach 2 different sergeants to him. Remember, we've got that double attack, but remember that double attack is a melee attack. So you could attach one of the ranged on there and give him an extra ranged as well, so he could do 2 damage, right? And then imagine this, if you did one where you have the extra range on there, range attack, so he does 2 damage with his ranged attack, and then you put a sergeant on him, and now he can do 2 damage on initiative 3 and then 2 damage on initiative 2. So that's the kind of thing that you have to think about. Like, if I set those modules up, because all I got was a module draw, which happens from time to time with Steel Police, this is one of the ones that you can put in there to make that work, right? Now, you only have one of those. This guy is awesome. He's the Executioner. He will go in and actually kill one unit that is attacking you. One unit that your opponent has on the board, you can put him right on top of it and it takes care of him. It eliminates him completely. Doesn't matter if he's got armor or anything like that, you just take him out. Now this guy has got toughness as well. If you look, he's got armor in 2 places and he's got toughness. So it takes 2 hits to actually kill him once he's on the board. This is a really good guy. If your enemy has put a blocker down next to his HQ and you've got a ranged attack facing him, the Executioner is a good guy to put right next to the HQ to open up that lane for the ranged attack, and he'll be able to stick around for a couple of rounds, since the HQs generally only do 1 damage to things that are adjacent to him. Now, when you put him down and he executes somebody, your HQ will get 1 damage. So just my thing is, if I put him next to the HQ, he will do at least 1 damage to the HQ. So that's a trade. Plus, I'm getting rid of a guy, which maybe helps open up a lane. So that's where I really like to use this Executioner. He does a really good job on that. The other thing you can do is you can use them as protection on your HQ, especially, again, if you put the Steel Police HQ in the corner. This is a good guy to put right in the middle and take out anybody who comes in there, right? So, and he's hopefully will be able to stick around for a couple of rounds. Then you got this guy. Now listen, a riot police, this is a guy that I really like. I love it when I get him, especially like say round 4 or 5, something like that, because he's got this push. If you can get it right before something goes off and before the board gets too crowded, you can push some people out of the way and really mess up your opponent's plans. Not only that, but he goes off on a 2. He's got armor, so he can protect against range if you want to drop him in to help protect your base, plus push someone away from your base. So that's another way you can get a push. Remember, we only had a single push. This is a way we can get 2 more because we have 2 of these guys. So that's pretty cool. Richard, this is about the app. We're talking about the new faction that's coming out for the new app. And it's Steel Police. But obviously, all the things that I'm talking about also go to the board game as well. So you can use these things in either one. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on right now, Richard, with the app. A lot of things that we're trying to get fixed. The AI is being improved all the time. A lot of the interfaces are being improved. I understand. A lot of people feel that way, Richard, as far as getting updates and whatnot. I get it. You lost some armies. We are trying to replace those as fast as possible. We're going to end up with multiple players. We're going to end up with, you can play people online now where you couldn't do it before. And I understand that, it's kind of a bummer. But the way that it was is that we couldn't. So we had 2 choices basically, right? See you, nerd shells. So you had 2 choices basically. We could put a separate app up, right? We could say, hey, here's the new app that we're working on. It's going to have all the factions and whatnot. And you would have been abandoned with the old app. So the old app would stay the way that it was, and it would just be there. Or we could replace that and begin working on the new app to bring it up to where the old one was, plus more. So that's kind of where we ended up, and why we ended up making that decision. So as we get things fixed and as we add more armies, if you've already had those factions, you will get those for free. And then we'll be able to add all the other ones as well, where we weren't able to do that before. So it's a tough decision, and it's not the best one, but I mean, there wasn't really an awesome way to do it. And this seemed like the best way. Understood. The problem is that we really needed people to test it, to bring it out, Richard. I totally get where you're coming from. So hopefully things will get better. We're getting updates all the time. I'm on the new one now, and it's giving me lots. The AI is so much better. Now sometimes it takes a second for it to think, but I think overall it's doing better. And I think that they're really listening to everybody's feedback, and they really are trying to make improvements. They have meetings on it quite often, and try to make those improvements. So I feel very confident in Portal's ability to get it done. So anyway, so Riot Police, not only do they have these 2 attacks and they've got the shield, they go off on 2 and they got pushes. So now why have additional pushes when you got a guy who can attack and do pushes, right? So this is a really nice unit to have, and I've used it to great effect protecting my HQ. You can also, if he is mobile, say outpost or something like that, and he's been moving his HQ, you guess what? You get to push him back into your line of fire, right, with this guy. So Riot Police is can be pretty nice, can work out pretty well. So it does have that armor, like I said, so you can block one range shot. And I do like the way that this is all worded. Armor protects the unit from the gauze cannon attacks normally, but the attack still affects all other units in the line of fire. So it will protect him, but anybody that's behind him, if the gauze cannon shoots this way, will be damaged. So they go into really explaining to you exactly how those rules work. Richard, I really don't know about the 4-player thing. I know that they were working on the getting the online stuff working well, and making sure that it gets connected and works good. I think that they're trying to get these armies up and running, and then I think at that point they can start working on, because the AI, they've got to get the AI right and everything, and then they'll start doing the 4 players as well. So there's a lot of moving pieces there. So hopefully we'll get that going. What else we got here? Oh, there's a net. So the pacifier. Now this is interesting because it's not just a net. A lot of times people look at the pacifier and see a net, but notice that there is this little gold circle here with a question mark. It's a hex with a question mark. And so obviously the pacifier can net somebody, just like any net. And you get 2 of them, which is great. I like nets, especially with the Steel Police Net of Justice, right? I can throw that net anywhere, and then I've got 2 of these. And what's cool about these is not only can you net somebody, but at some point, if the threat that you netted goes away, you can then replace this unit with any other unit. So it's like a placeholder, which is really interesting. So you can take any other unit and put it on top of that net unit, and your net unit will go away and you'll have that unit there. So it's a nice placeholder. Then we've got this guy who is killer. So he's the Predator. He's got the fangs. He does 2 damage, ranged damage, and he does 1 to either side. And he goes off on a 2. Now this is one of the ones that I really like to boost. You can think all the boosts that would be good for this. If you get a +1 initiative, that would be great. If you got a couple of the sergeants on there so that he'd end up with multiple initiatives, that would be great. If you gave him pluses to his ranged attack, that would be great. So that is where that should go. So this is one of those ones that you want to build a great little avenue of modules for and drop this guy in, right? And here's the big dog. This is what I think of as the big dog. This is the judge. We get 3 of them. Now, there's one feature about this that I want to talk about that I don't ever really get to use it to its full capacity. And that's this in the backside. It's the reflector. Now, the only thing that happens with this is if someone were to attack us in the back like this, it will reflect that damage right to whatever is right here adjacent to him, right? And that's cool. That's cool, but he's got this attack and he does 1 damage on 1 and 1 damage on 0, and he's able to move. So the judge is pretty freaking cool. He is the guy. But that reflection thing, it is really tough to use. It is really tough to get working correctly. And just to kind of go over that a little bit, reflection protects the unit from all attacks directed at the side marked with the reflection icon. So it could be melee, or it could be ranged. So if what they do to you is try to attack him from the side, you can turn him, and now he's going to be shooting at something that you didn't really want to shoot at, but it will kill the thing that is attacking you. And that might be necessary because you're so slow. You go off on a 1 and a 0. Now, this doesn't help to have a sergeant, because a 1 and a 0, if you got another initiative, it would be at -1, and there is no -1 initiative. So for this guy, you have to get that +1 initiative on him, which we do have up here. Whoop, we have 2 of them. So maybe we can get these judges to work with the pluses. So we could, if we make a lane with the +1, it could help some of the other ones, but it would really help the judge if there was a sergeant on the other side of it. So that's that guy. And the movement is really nice, in case when you're playing like Outposts and stuff like that, and they got people on the move all the time, you definitely want units that can move. This guy can stay in the back and move around and do a lot of damage. Because he's got 2 initiatives, he can kill a blocker and then hit the base, that kind of thing. Really a good unit. Very good unit. You really want to increase the amount of damage that he can do if you can, though. Yeah, I can play Steel Police today, actually. If you look last week on Tuesday, I played a round of Steel Police. This is the last one, and that is War Dog. War Dog has a ranged attack, and it goes off in 2 different directions because he's got double pistols. And he goes off on a 2. So this is just a simple ranged attack, and we get 2 of those. So if you look on the amount of damage that you can do, you got 2, 3, 2, 2, 1, and 3, right? Those are the initiatives on these guys. So they're kind of, I think they average to like a 2, right? Something like that. And you've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 attacks, 10 different attacks. Some of them have double attacks, but you've got those modules that you can make these even stronger, that you can make them better. So you need to use those modules, and you need to use the nets to the best of their effect to shut down the other side. So I think that's the best way to go. Anyway, so that's sort of my breakdown on the Steel Police and how each unit works, and maybe how you can use them in your game. There you go. They're coming out Monday. So, cool. So hopefully Monday you guys will be able to use these new Steel Police coming out and enjoy the heck out of it. On Tuesday, I will be playing them again. And we can, Monday, November 22nd is when it's going to be released. And on Tuesday, the 23rd, I will play another game using the Steel Police, and hopefully you guys can show up and watch me take on somebody. I don't know who. We'll make it random. Okay? So, hey, thanks for joining. Thanks for the conversation. I appreciate you. Hopefully you learned something. And good gaming to you. Have a good week.